Mr. G, that was beautiful.
Mr. A.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Andertons TV, where today I'm very pleased to introduce you to a chap that I've met over the last year or so and become good friends with, Thomas Gray. Tom, I know most people call you Tom, don't they? But I've got you saved in my phone as Thomas, so
Thomas,
I don't really...
yeah, you and my mum then. That's about it.
And
Pete,
so we'll call you Tom.
Tom is good. Tom is easily to...
And we met last year through mutual friend Dan Steinhardt.
We did.
Because you make guitars, don't you?
But I do make guitars.
So why don't we go back and do a quick summary of, you know, your 40-something years on the planet so far.
Oh my God.
Who are you? And what qualifies you to make guitars?
I know, yeah. Well, I play guitar. I started playing guitar in about 1989-ish. So I was about in the third year of school in Old Money, so year
Eric
9.
Clapton's Journeyman album, I think, had come out that year.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up. I was born in Epsom and lived around here till I was about 11. And my dad owned a recording studio, which he sold in 1987. And we all moved to Cornwall.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, we went to Cornwall that summer for holiday, and my parents were like, "Oh, when we retire, one day we'll move down here."
It's the great English dream,
Yeah,
isn't it?
and then 5 months later, we were all living down there, you know. And we got into windsurfing and surfing and stuff, and we used to watch surfing videos all the time. And the outro music and lots of music was all this amazing guitar. And it was Joe Satriani's first album,
Right.
Surfing with the Alien,
Surfing,
just
yeah.
come out, and obviously the title caught the attention of anyone who ever put any music in any surf videos, because it was always,
Of course.
you know, and so that's, you know, and there were guitars around the house, and when we moved to Cornwall, a few guitars came with us, an old Strat and a bass came with us, and they're always around. And my older brother Lawrence is 2 years older than me, and he started playing guitar first, and he actually joined a band. He played bass guitar in a band at school, and the guitar player in that band actually was amazing. This guy called Rob Moore. And, you know, you think music was great, or someone was a great player when you're a kid, and if you ever listened to a tape of them playing that, it would be dreadful. Oh, God, what? I found an audio tape when I moved house last. I found a tape of my brother's band playing, and they recorded it live in the garage or whatever, and I put it on thinking, oh, here we go. It's going to be dreadful. And it was amazing.
Oh,
I was
cool.
like, oh my God, that guy could really... And so I was really lucky. I was surrounded by people who were a bit older than me
Yeah.
and cooler than me, who could really play. And we'd have like house parties, and acoustic guitars would be handed around, and we'd play Guns N' Roses songs or simple stuff. And I was just so jealous of I was like, oh my God. So I just beavered it. I went home and I got a guitar for Christmas, and I got an acoustic guitar and a Beatles songbook, like everyone does. And I
Yeah.
just like flicked through all the songs until you found one in G, which you could kind of play. Forgot all like the scary ones, the diminished chords. We'll do that another day. And just, yeah, and then from the Beatles, I listened to Jimi Hendrix a lot, and that was my first, like, you know, and he's still my favourite guitar player, I think, of all time.
That's why.
And then just played a lot, and back then, there was none of it. You know, YouTube, there's no... And even, like, you'd buy a guitar tab book if you were lucky, you know, the tab book came out. And... But what I learnt most of my theory from was Joe Satriani interviews in Guitar World, and he'd talk about modes and scales and pitch axis theory and this and that and the other. And I really kind of consumed that stuff. And Alan Holdsworth, I just lost my mind when I first heard his stuff. And I really tried to be as conscientious as I could. And my dad ended up building a studio in our house, like 6 months after we moved there. Like, right, where can we put the studio? And I started playing guitar, and he'd do sessions with people, and I'd like to put some guitar on some stuff, you know, and I tried to be as good as I could, and, you know, as diligent as I could, and I ended up doing a music degree and becoming a music teacher. And
Are you on a famous, like, did you sneak like a guitar track onto a famous record? You know, like,
I did.
Like some of those kids that say that they sung in the choir
Well,
and like Pink Floyd's The Wall or whatever.
I'm not sure you can say James. Can you say James Blunt in this room?
Of course you can.
James Blunt.
He's awesome. He's king of Twitter.
James Blunt. My dad. Cornwall, where we live in Cornwall, we live in this little fishing village that happens to have a 5-star hotel in it. It's really bizarre.
What's the village?
It's called St Maur's.
Okay, it's not where I'm going.
You should go and stay in the Tresanton Hotel. It's just.
Is it
I'm not
amazing?
getting paid to
Is
say
that near? I'm going next. Actually, I'm not going to say where I'm going next
No.
week, just in case anybody else. This video will come out after that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Goran, something or other. Goran. It's like right.
Goran Haven.
That's it. I'm going there.
Every house party I played guitar in, all my friends lived in Goran Haven.
Well, there you go. We've got a little. I don't own it, but we've rented like a little cottage down on the beach in
Tim
Goran
Rennick
Haven.
lives 1 mile from there.
Small world. Small
Literally.
world. Who, ironically, Tim Rennick, if you're not sure, was the kind of the other guitar player on the Pink Floyd album Delicate Sound of Thunder, which was the which was the live album of
Yeah.
Pink Floyd post Roger Waters, that made me want to play guitar.
Yeah, well, Tim did all...
Weird.
Tim grew up in Cambridge with all those guys. Sid Barrett was Tim's scout leader. Can you believe that?
I can't imagine Sid
I know,
Barrett
yeah.
ever being responsible enough to be a scout leader.
I keep telling Tim has to write
He
a
probably
book.
didn't even realise he was ever there, did he?
No, probably not.
He thought he was just,
Yeah.
there were all these strange small men with
Yeah.
like shorts and green woggles
Yeah.
on or whatever they're called.
We thought it was, yeah. Chocolate Factory. Yeah, but Tim grew up in Cambridge with all those guys, so obviously Dave
Amazing.
Gilmour and those guys.
Yep.
And Tim went on to play. Tim played on all the tours when after Roger left, and he played on Roger's tour when he left. He played on
really?
the Delicate Sound of the something sound of hitchhiking. Something I forgot the title of it. He played on Roger's tour when he left as well,
Okay.
with Eric Clapton as the other guitar player.
Oh, yes.
Can you
quite
imagine
good
that?
Then.
And that's
I
when
didn't
Tim got the
realise.
Eric gig from. He went off. And Eric's like, "You're good. Do you like fishing?" Yep. That was it. So Tim played with Eric. Tim played with Eric on Live Aid, in '85,
Yeah.
and all. He did that tour. Yeah,
We should say, I mean, Tom's way too modest. So Tom's dad was a very successful producer. So when Tom talks about all these guitar names, you grew up around lots of cool people like that, didn't you?
Yeah,
So-
I mean, Dad did the first 3 Police records, and a ton of good Banshees records. My 2 favourite Susie Banshees records he did, Juju and Kaleidoscope, which are just really amazing records. And actually, unfortunately, he died recently, and I only re-listened to those Banshees albums after he died.
Oh, right.
Really, in any kind of and it's a real shame because I was like, how did you?
I've
record?
never really listened to any of that stuff, so perhaps I should get into it.
Those 2 records.
Are they good, are they?
Oh my God, Spellbound, Arabian
Yeah.
Nights, those big singles by the Banshees are just incredible. And when they came out in the very early '80s, in that kind of post-punk era, they were like defining.
That was my dad was just a massive Police fan, so all early '80s.
Yeah.
That was just on all the time in
Yeah.
our house. He just
Yeah.
wanted to be Stuart Copeland. It was just
Monster. Me too. I mean, when I was a kid, that's the only music I remember. Green vinyl, they all came out on green vinyl. All the singles are on green vinyl, and I got all at home. And I remember listening to them, and the outro of Don't Stand So Close to Me has got this, don't stand so, don't. Over Sting singing something else. I was
Yes.
like,
Yeah,
how
yes.
do you... And so the whole multi-tracking thing,
Yeah.
I was probably about 3 or 4. He'd lift me up and over the record player and watch it go around. And so the concept of recording and multi-track recording, I was like, that's a good idea.
Very, very early memories of my younger brother, about being 3 years old or whatever, being utterly mesmerised by a turntable in our house. My dad was really into his hi-fi. I think a lot of guys of his generation would spend a lot of money on their hi-fi, and he'd buy these very expensive cartridges for the sort of vinyl like that. And my brother would just watch this thing going round and round and round, and then he'd just go like that on the thing.
There we go.
So Dad used to go mental.
Can I need another
He
one
put
of
a lock on the door in the end to stop us even going in that
Yeah.
growing up in the 70s, it was good.
It was good, yeah.
Okay, so
Yes.
look, so you did a
All
music
that,
degree,
all that stuff, yeah. I moved,
and then you
yeah.
taught music, didn't you,
Yeah,
for a bit?
I did. I grew up in Cornwall and did all my music A-levels and stuff. And then I went to the London College of Music and Media in Ealing, knowing full well that I'd never go back to Cornwall again. So I'll go up there. I'm sure within the 3 years I'm there, I'll make enough inroads just to stay in London forever. And I did. I joined a band. I joined a band in my second year of university, which was it got to a stage where we had big record label interest and people in helicopters were flying to see us and stuff. It was
Wicked.
really bizarre. But then the whole Time Warner AOL merger thing happened in like 2000.
What was the name of that band?
They were called the Swamis. And
Swamis.
this is it was the Indian, it was a drummer, amazing drummer. I'm still kind of friends with him, and a bass player, a tabla player, a DJ, and a rapper, and me. And he played me.
So this is what, early 90s?
No, this is like very late night. Like I came to London in '97, so probably like '98. So it's all, no one had smartphones or YouTube.
No.
Unfortunately, there's no footage of us doing it. And we did some cool stuff. We did a tour with a band called The Far Side, which are this LA kind of legendary band. And we did like the small tour with them, and that was really good. And yeah, we had this deal pending, and this whole universal AOL thing happened, and all domestic A&R just stopped. Record labels were like, right, what's going to happen next? And so all these little projects and like, was it V2, that Virgin label? V3, that's closed down, and everyone was like, and even this guy, Neil Ferris, his name was Neil Ferris, he used to be the head of EMI, and he's a big radio plugger for everyone, Queen, David Bowie. Look him up, he's amazing. He flew down to Cornwall in a helicopter to see us. He's like, I'm coming now. I was like, what do you mean coming now? And then like, literally, is there somewhere where is there an area around where I can... Yeah? And so like, and this guy landed, and he came and listened to a few tracks and was like, right, this is the best thing I've heard this decade. I'm going to go and see this person, and I'm getting a record label, and he buzzed off again. And unfortunately, this 6 months later, all kind of just like...
What a bummer.
But then,
this is how...
that's what happens. And
stuff is supposed to happen for a reason, isn't it?
Yeah. And so that was amazing. That was a band that I spent all my time not sounding like a guitarist. I bought one of those Roland VG8s, and I had a mixture of that kind of stuff and loads of old pedals, and I blend. It was great. I've got some. There's some. We did some demos and stuff. We actually did a live demo in Surrey Sound Studios, my dad's old studio, that was still running then. So we actually went in there for a day with him, with my dad. So that was like like all I wanted to ever do was record some music at Surrey Sound with my dad, and we did it for one day, and it was amazing. And the night before, all our gear got stolen. We left all our gear in a rehearsal studio in Camden. And we all went back to the singer's house to stay in the same flat, so no one got lost or got too stoned or whatever. Got lost.
It's okay.
Sorry.
We can say that.
And so then we got a call at 9 a.m. from, I won't name the studio, saying, yeah, there's a slight problem. None of your gear is here. And right, okay. But then luckily, the people who stole it were so stupid, they literally left a trail of stuff to their front door. The police, in an hour, had all our stuff back.
Oh, that's good.
And we all drove off to Surrey Sound.
It was a bit of luck, wasn't it?
Fun.
So anyway. Come on then. So did a bit of teaching at A level at secondary school.
When all the music stuff, I got to about 30 and thought, right, I'm penniless, living on my brother's floor or whatever, and I was just getting married, just about to get married, just got married. Yeah, after my honeymoon, I came back and saw an advert in a paper saying there's still spaces for a music degree, PGCE. You can still come in, it's like in June. We have still spaces for September. I thought, maybe I could just do that. So within like no time, I went for a little interview and stuff, and then the next week, I was back in class.
Were you like the really cool music teacher?
With a new pencil.
Everyone. You're supposed to be Mr. Grey, but all the cool kids called you Tom, and you just hung out with them. Maybe had a quick fag go on the bike sheds with them.
No, not.
Went out with some of the 16-year-old students. Was that?
No, I was definitely married by then. But unfortunately. I know I don't see it now, but 10 years ago, I did not have the mental capacity to teach teenagers who just didn't really care about what I was saying in any way. And so I learned very quickly that this was going to be much, 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 much harder than I thought it was going to be. segueing beautifully into this stuff.
Yes.
The reason I managed to do this was two things. We did have a very cool deputy head, this guy called Mike. He's a lovely guy. And he said, oh, my son's doing this PGCE course in some other school where they're doing music technology stuff. Would you be interested in teaching that? I was like, oh my God, yeah, yes, I would. So I went and looked at the curriculum, and you had to pick like 4 or 5 modules from this whole list. And one of them was like backline, one of them was like recording, so like microphones, and I was like, they're going to pay me to teach this? I was like, And one was like backline maintenance, so looking after guitars, looking after amplifiers and stuff. And I looked down the list, and it was like intonation, string changing, and things. I was like, oh yeah, I know that much. Then it went a bit deeper. I was like, oh, I couldn't do that, and I couldn't. And so I looked into doing that. Because I was working in a school, they got a woodwork ICT department. So they had all the stuff I needed, And then I thought, the first thing I ever did to a guitar was I had a Telecaster, which, I always put back things in my Telecasters, because why not? I don't know. And the first thing I did was, how do you do that? So I typed into YouTube, how do you cut I did a 4-arm quanta first. And this video turned up with this bloke, and it was a video with no sound. He wasn't talking yet. He just showed you what to do. And so you kind of drew a line across there with a ruler. You draw a line around the edge, and you just join up the lines. I'll try that. And I did it. I just strapped my guitar body to the picnic table in our garden with the roof rack strap or whatever. And just did it. And a couple of hours later, it was there, and it felt right, and it looked right. I thought, oh. And then about 2 weeks later, I typed in again, how do you do a belly contour? Same thing, I got a dinner plate and just drew round here. And you draw a line down the middle where you kind of roughly want it to end, and you get it going again. And that worked as well. And I must give props to this guy, David Fletcher, this Australian guitar builder, Fletcher Guitars. And he ended up posting these videos where he did everything, and he did a Strat, and he did speak over it. I thought, oh, great, he's talking over this one. And he did like 20 videos in a row from, here is a block of wood into and it was amazing. So I just watched them all. It was summer holiday one year. So I just sat up, the kids went to bed, I just sat up and watched them on my laptop just again and again and again and again. And I slowly bought there's a shop in America called Stu Mac that sells everything.
Absolutely great spares.
The best. Supplier. Oh my God. They, and so I bought a little setup kit, and a straight edge and stuff. And then, because I bought like a handful of stuff, they sent me a catalogue in the post. It arrived. And I looked through, who's ever going to need all this? A year later, I had everything in there, every little thing. Because you make guitars, you realise there's a little tool for everything. There's a little tool for clearing the junk out of the fret slots. There's a little tool for everything.
Yeah.
And I ended up making a workshop in my garden, and I ended up getting all the bandsaws and drill presses and router tables and everything you needed, and slowly. But the first guitar I ever made, I made at school. Right. And the guy who ran the ICT department, the technician guy, Pete, amazing guy, he showed me how it all worked. This is how you don't cut your fingers off here, and don't do that. And in the summer holidays, he worked all the time. It wasn't on teacher's time, so he just worked there all the time. Yeah. So in the summer holidays, I'd go in for a day or 2 days. It would just be me and him with this big thing. It was great, And I eventually made this first guitar. It was a Telecaster. Yeah. A T-type guitar. And it just worked. It was like this, and I remember I bought my first piece of alder and a real piece of maple and a real fingerboard, and I practiced on bits of wood from Wix. I just go to Wix and buy bits of wood that's sort of neck shape, and I learned how to carve necks and all the things I did. Then I did the first one, and this is all when my children were really young, and I was a school teacher, and I live in in Teddington, which is not a cheap place to live, and I kind of told my wife, I'm going to do this instead of being a teacher. She's like, okay, all right. You sure that? Oh, yes. My dad's voice came. Yeah, it'll all be fine. And I remember the first guitar I made in the workshop. I said, Phoebe, come and play, come and sit down and play it. And she sat down. I remember she sat down, really, slowly sat down. I just handed her the guitar. She plays guitar really well. She played just did a few chords, and she kind of looked up, and she didn't go, "Yes, you were right. This is wonderful." But she's like, "Yeah, okay, okay. I think this is going to be okay." And that was about 6 years ago, I guess.
Amazing.
And since then, I had worked like 3 days as a teacher, and then like 3 days in a primary school, and then took the leap.
Well,
Took the leap, and then here, you know.
So
Yes.
you started making
Yes.
commissions for people.
Yeah.
You've built some
Yeah.
guitars for lots of just
Yeah.
people no one would ever have heard of, but some people
Yeah.
that are well known. Tim
Yeah.
Rennick, you mentioned Graham
Yeah,
Coxon.
I mean,
Dan Steinhardt.
Steinhardt, mate. Yeah, I just kind of was quite bold with my getting myself out there. I read a book about how to make a guitar, and in the preface,
Either.
either.
Yes.
Anyway,
Tomato.
in the preface of the book, the guy said, "People ask me all the time, how could I make a living making guitars? And after I've stopped laughing in their face, you know, and I was like, oh God. And I thought, no, that's not going to be me. I'm going to make sure this works." And so I figured if you're on Twitter and you're on Instagram and you're on Facebook, you're out there in the world.
Yep.
You're putting stuff out there. I kind of thought, well, I'm going to contact them. You know, in the 80s, if you want to give a guitar to Eddie Van Halen, good luck. I mean, or whatever, you know, or Johnny Marr or something. But I thought, well, Steinhardt's on Facebook and whatever, and I just texted him a picture of a guitar. I said, "I made this guitar, I think you'd really like it." And he was like, "Oh, great, well, come over and see me. Come to Swindon." Yeah.
That's so Dan. He's so nice.
And I was like, yeah, and well...
oh, and then he was horrible, was he?
No. So I had this guitar in my hand.
Did he jiu-jitsu you down to the floor with his, like,
Yeah.
super double, triple black belt jiu-jitsu
like
thing?
Peter Sellers, you walk in the door and the cater just... No, I made this guitar, and it was like it had the Cobertina. It was in a squat. It was like a single pickup thing, real like rock and roll. You know, one pickup, 3-tone sunburst, white binding. You know, really nice. And so he said, "Come and see me on Wednesday or whatever." So I had this red guitar, and I had another one, this white, basically that, except that a 50s kind of spec looking thing. And I thought, I'll take that one as well, just to show off. So I drove up to Swindon and knocked on the door, and they opened it, and I spoke to Dan's wife, and she's like, "He's not here. Noel Gallagher's had some problem with his pedal board. Dan's in London right now. I'll call him right now." He's like, "Dan, yeah, Tom's here." And I can hear him go, keep him there, just stay there. You know, he hand me the phone, and Dan's like, "Mate, I'm really sorry." And I'm leaving now. So I sat there with Joe, who answers the phone, who is a pedal, anorak, and so am I. So we just like had a pedal off, talk for 3 hours, and where they shoot the show is just next door. So we
Yeah.
sat in there and I just played, just looked around and hung out. And then Dan came back and he played that red guitar, which I thought he'd really like. Mm-hmm. And Dan just sat on his little chair, and I sort of sat, and he played for like ages, like 10 minutes or something. And I was like sweating, And he looked up and said, "Yeah, I really like it, but sounds a bit similar to the one I've got already. What's the other one?" So I handed him the white one. Same thing, 5 minutes of just sight, And after 7 minutes, he just look up and go, "Oh!" Then play a bit more and go, "Ooh!" And he go, "Love it!" Or like, whatever. And then by the end, he was like, "Love this guitar, like it's the best." He said it was the nicest neck on a new guitar he'd ever played or something. So I was like, amazing. So I said, "Look, if you love it, you can have it." He was like, "So yeah, just because I figured, well, it doesn't owe me anything, And so he had one, and then I did the same thing to Graham. I was like, he's on Twitter, and I just tweeted him a picture saying, it was like just before Christmas, like, "Happy Christmas, this one's for you," or something. And what I'd done with Graham was I'd watched a video he made with Fender saying what he liked about guitars. Right. So I just wrote them all down. Right, this finish, this neck shape, P90s, wrote it all down. So I made this guitar and tweeted a picture. And I was at my daughter's carol concert on the 15th of December or something. And I pushed send, went out the door. And my kids we live 30 seconds from the school. So we got there in a minute. And then 2 minutes later, it went bing. And I looked, and it was just like from Graham Coxon. And me, I was like the biggest Blur fan ever. I would just bananas. So even the fact that he'd responded to me, if he just said, "Never contact me again," I'd be like, he was like, "Really?" I said, just typing as fast as I could, "Amazing guitar for you." And he's, I said, I can bring it to you if you like. Never thinking Graham Coxon would give me. And then the next minute, it's like, "Come tomorrow." It's like, and then his address appeared. I was like, "Oh my God!" It was just too much for my minute brain to deal with. So the next day, I was sat on Graham's floor, surrounded with pedals. He had my guitar in his hand, and he was just playing through Blur songs whilst I was fanning around with his distortion pedals. I was like, what? How has this happened? And so he's a lovely, he comes across, he is exactly what you imagine. A lovely, quiet, funny, lovely guy. And, we hang out quite a lot now, and it's a pleasure, and he's awesome. But then, they're probably the two kind of most famous ones. There's a few other ones in the pipeline. We met
Josh Smith.
After his amazing thing we did at the Mandalay, and we met, and I'm making him a guitar next. So we're kind of just in conversation about that. And Andy from
Pro Guitar Shop. Or not Pro Reverb.
No, Reverb now. Yeah, he's a massive Graham fan. When I first made a video of Graham, the first comment on the first video was him. I thought, gee, I could listen to Graham play all day. He's wonderful. And so we've been talking a lot about getting him a guitar, and Reverb are quite
well.
So
how we've ended up here is Tom bought some guitars to Andertons last year, and we started messing around. And Pete and I both played them and both agreed that we really liked them. They had definitely a sort of a slightly different vibe to old-fashioned Fenders, and it was a bit more contemporary vibe. And anyway, as I was sort of talking and gradually falling more and more in love with this guitar or one of the guitars that you'd bought down, my little brain started whirring about a sort of not a project's too grandiose a word, but like a vibe that I'd had for the last year or two, which was, we should do something more to support British manufacturing. And kind of we've got a really solid relationship with a couple of amp brands that are British made. Same with pedals, really doing ever so well with the guys at Hudson and Origin and crikey, I'm going to forget
Thorpe, Stone Deaf.
Yeah, but we never really had a guitar brand that was British made. I kind of knew that the Chapman thing had something in the offing at the time, but I wasn't entirely sure where that was going to go. Ironically, that has progressed now and is another, or soon to be in the offing. But I started talking to Tom about this idea of going, what if we went it just being British made, because your guitars at the time were very, all the timbers you were buying conformed to what you would expect when you know, Canadian maple and you know, North American ash and all, you know, it was like really conventional timbers. And I sort of said to Tom, is there any reason? I mean, is there any reason why we can't just use trees that grow in this country?
Yeah.
For, you know, not really, not because I'd like, you know, had any experience in sort of, you know, what do you call it? Like wood, lumber, what's the sort of the science of wood? What do you call that? I can't remember, whatever it is.
Timberology.
Timberology, yes. Not because I had any experience in that, just purely and simply because it just seemed to me like, well, we do have trees in this country. There are some trees. And that kind of piqued your interest. And it was a bit like, I wonder why. So
it piqued my interest a lot because over the last couple of years, I've been massively inspired and influenced by Adrian Thorpe and Luke and Michael Hudson, you know, to do what I'm doing at all. I mean, imagine making some overdrive pedals and thinking, these are going to sell. You know, that's so brave, you know, incredible, you know, and we all know that getting things made in this country as opposed to Indonesia, China, Taiwan, whatever, you know, the massive stumbling block is that guy wants £700 a day to operate their machine, and the guy...
Maybe not 700, but I know what you mean.
Well,
as in,
there's certain things...
I see what...
Certain processes which would cost that for one person to do. Anyway, but just hundreds
like
of
10
percent.
times more,
Hundreds
easily.
of percent more. And so that's a massive stumbling block. But... these guitars, I mean, the guy I get my wood from, David Dyke, who's a legend of timberology. That's not actually a word, I'm sorry.
It is now.
It is now. And David Dyke is this older gentleman, amazing guy, with the voice of David Gilmour. If you speak to him on the phone, you think...
Very soft and posh.
Posh. And he lives in Sussex, and he's got an amazing wood collection. So I rang him up straight away. Can we do this? And he's like, you just reeled off, right? This, you can use that, because this, you know, like laburnum, and these are ash necks, English ash necks.
So good.
And
so good.
Laburnum is this wood which actually is a bit lighter than this. It's treated with ammonia, so it gets a darker hue to it. That's laburnum as well. That is a one-piece sycamore neck. Now, sycamore and maple are the same family of tree. They are... I mean, I'm sure there'll be people out there who'll say, actually, they're genus Sycamorus. And I'm sure there'll be something, but they are so closely related. I mean, if you look at a piece of sycamore, if you look at that, and it looks, even the figurine looks the same. It's, you know, they're so similar. And I stumbled across a little chart. I really looked into this, and there's a chart you get of wood of like. The pressure it takes to bend it, twist it, snap it, puncture, drill it, all that kind of stuff. And they're all out of, you know, some crazy units out of 1,000, whatever, you know. And all the woods that we use, I say we as the guitar world, there's a list like a mile long, you know. And they all exist in 1 inch of the list, you know. Like, things like Ibanez use a lot of basswood, whatever you want to call it, bass. And Fender used a lot of poplar back in the day, and they are softer woods. When you work basswood or poplar, it doesn't work like alder or ash, but it's not like it's featherwood or jellywood.
And you'd never see a neck made out of poplar, for examul, would you? But bodies where there's not quite the tension and it's thicker anyway.
Exactly. Not
a problem.
And this guitar, I'm sure we'll get in that later.
Yeah.
That's figured poplar.
Yeah.
Which is very light. I mean, I remember the two guitars I brought to you. You were like, whoa, you know, they're a bit heavy. And I think the guitar playing world is kind of split between light is good, heavy is good. You know, I don't really have a particular.
No.
But
I think I'm definitely in the school of either the guitar is good or it isn't.
Yeah. I mean, I've played some super light ash tellies. I've played some pretty heavy ash tellies.
Yeah.
And when you buy lots of wood, you can depending on which industry you're in, you get different grades based on is it heavy, is it light? You know, some people buy wood by the square, you know, kilograms per square meter, and that's what they buy for that reason or whatever, you know.
Well, so we had this sort of to and froing sort of dialogue over about 4 or 6 weeks or whatever, until eventually Tom came back and said, look, definitely, I can source this British timber, already using bare knuckle pickups anyway, British made pickups, great.
The best pickups.
Hardware is potentially going to be a mix. There is some hardware coming. You know, for example, I think the trem systems are British made on these. The bridges on these are imported.
They're mastery bridges from Minneapolis in America. And I used them when I was kind of, because if you make guitars that are, you know, and let's not, you know, beat around the old bush there. They are just essentially very familiar designs, and that is accepted. But when I made these Graylings, that one on the end there, I was looking for a guitar that it's got a Telecaster outline, a T-type outline, but that's about the only thing left. Scale length's 25, you know, P90's in it, those mastery short bridges. I just fell in love with the saddles. They're so like Art Deco, they just look beautiful. And I was just looking for something which I hadn't really seen before. And I hadn't seen anyone, in this country certainly, have a mastery bridge on a guitar. And so that was one thing I went for. But those tremolos on these Emperors are wood tone ones. Andy makes these amazing bridges which have got some genuine little innovations in, which are yours is the Callahan one.
Right. Well, look. So the next thing really there was, and this was, I suppose,
a bit of fun.
This was a bit of fun. Whilst we were talking about doing all this, and I suppose to a certain extent, you know, there's a. I certainly didn't ask Tom to go and make me a load of guitars for free. You know, I had to commit to buying these guitars because obviously, you know, you've got to put food on the table.
My children insist on being fed
but
daily.
One of the things that I had just done, I just had some renovations done to the house that I live in, and we had a very old-fashioned looking fireplace taken out and replaced with something more contemporary. And one of the things that came out was this enormous, like 6 meter long wooden beam. And it had just been put in my garage, and it had only been there for about a week or something like that. And this was all very good timing. And I said to Tom, do you want to whiz around to my house and just have a look, see if you think that this wood could be made into a guitar body? Because I kind of just like the idea of not just throwing it all away. You know, I mean, there's some sentimental value, you know, in this wood, if there can be. Anyway, you came around. It was pretty messy, but clearly because it had been inside and above a fire for, you know, years and years and years and years, it was, you know, we assumed that it would be dry.
It moved to the point where it's going to be
that's
forever.
Fine. So we cut it up into some blocks. Tom took it away, and the next thing, about I don't know, a week later or whatever, I get this amazing looking sawn and kind of slightly polished going. How about with just a pencil outline of the guitar on it, going, here's your bit of wood. And I'm just like, oh man, that's so cool. Yeah. And then I think David Dyke identified that it was oak. And again, it's absolutely a piece of wood, English oak, piece of wood that you totally wouldn't naturally. And I was very concerned that what would happen is that I'd end up with a Strat that was like, you know, twice as heavy as my other Strats. But I haven't. I've ended up with a guitar that's, I've not actually even weighed this, but it's about the same as an American like professional Strat. You know, I don't know what, 8 or 9 pounds, something like that.
I did take I took quite a lot off. It's got a very big belly.
Right.
I took a
to
lot
just try and So, but with all the other, again, this idea of using this English ash neck, it's actually a plum fretboard. English plum. Hold your plums. Bare knuckle pickups.
Yeah.
And effectively, apart from I think the Callahan bridge, this is a stock Emperor, and the fact that it's made out of oak, it's a stock Emperor.
Yeah.
And anyway, so Tom made this for me, and I've had this. Did I get this before Christmas? Just before Christmas, or was it just after Christmas?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
it was
around
just
that.
before.
Yeah, around then. Yeah.
And I've been kind of semi-conscious that I didn't want to play it loads in videos because I kind of wanted to wait for the rest. But anyway, long and the short of it is, once this arrived, I was like, man, let's do this. Let's 100% do this. Let's do the Emperor. Let's do the Admiral. Let's do the
Grayling.
The Grayling.
They're all butterfly names.
I love the logo, I love the idea that we're doing something completely British, or as British as it can be,
Yeah.
from everything, from not just the build, but the timbers and as much of the hardware as possible.
Yeah.
And so these are now in Andertons, and we'll go through. And I don't want to get to the point where I'm just going, this is the greatest guitar I've ever played, so that's it. Immediately sell all your other guitars and just buy one of these. But what I absolutely do want to encourage people who are watching this video, obviously it's probably the only the people who live in, you know, within the sort of the south of England maybe, or in England anyway, is just come in and give them a try. That there are. I don't think it's trying to be an old Fender. You know, it's not trying to be a Strat or a Telecaster.
No, I mean,
but it is a contemporary take on that, and there are lots of very successful American brands doing their contemporary take on this, and I just think you should try a British one. It's ballpark similar money. So this whole range here is between the sort of 25, 2,800 kind of dough. All with a Hiscox case, another British made hard
Rotor
case.
sound strings.
Yeah, I mean, even down to that detail, I kind of love all that. So, you know, I kind of just want to appeal to people over here that before you go, I'm going to go and buy an imported contemporary, you know, Strat Tele type guitar, just give these a try. I mean, the nice thing, I guess, about this, and one of the reasons for wanting to do the British thing, is we're buying these completely direct from Tom. So there's no middleman, there's no expensive sales and marketing operation, there's no import duty, there's no carriage. It is just all in the guitar. And I think it stacks up. Well, look, let's specifically talk about specs. Give me the Sunburst one, because that, in fairness, the blue, well, I say that, if you want one made out of a bit of oak from my fireplace.
We've got some.
There's bucket loads of, well, there's probably enough to make 10 guitars, 8 guitars maybe.
Certainly, I've still got enough to make, probably 5 or 6, maybe.
Or you were even saying, if you've got some wood that is of sentimental value and in a fit state to be made into a guitar, again, contact either Andertons or Tom directly.
We can do it. I mean
that's a bit more complicated, because of course wood needs to be a certain kind of you can't have wood with excessive moisture in it, otherwise it's unusable.
Don't hack up your kids' IKEA bunk beds.
Yes, absolutely. NDF, not so good. can I
Yeah.
pinch the sunburst one then, and we'll now immediately, because this is popular. This is quite a bit lighter than that blue one, and I guess. Ooh, I guess most people will go, if you're going to be standing up, the biggest advantage of having a light guitar, in my opinion, is just if you're going to wear it around your neck all the time, it's just less, feels less heavy on your shoulders. So,
okay, look. So I give you the spiel then. When I first started making guitars, I knew I was never going to compete with a Yamaha Pacifica, or whatever. I was never going to make a guitar for £400, whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll just go the other way. I'll just get all the best stuff I can source and make guitars out of it. And I very, very fortunately live 2 miles from a guy called Charlie Chandler. If you look him up, Charlie Chandler is the guitar repairer
of the Stars.
Of the Stars.
Yes.
And he has...
And his daughter works at Andertons, which is bizarre.
I did not know that, yeah.
And so we're all very close.
Yeah.
He's
and he
very
has
nice.
got, obviously, 40 years of knowledge, wisdom and awesomeness. And he also has a plec machine. So I approached Charlie and said, look, we're going to do these guitars with Andertons. Can we plec all of them? Everything that comes out of great guitars. He said, yes, we can. So all these guitars, if you don't know what the plec process is, the plec process is when, once the frets have been put in the guitar, the nuts have been put in the guitar, the guitar's hung up in a machine, and a computer-controlled machine measures the height of all the frets along the string lines, all that kind of stuff, and a computer cuts and levels your frets and cuts the nut slots infinitely correctly, perfectly. And so I think a couple of American guys use them. Like I think
they're really expensive.
Oh yeah, and now because Charlie has had one for a long time, he's got the new one. And now what Charlie does for me is Charlie cuts in the compound radius 9 to 12 on these guitars. He cuts the radius in for me, and cuts the fret slots. His genius Kim puts the frets in, and then it's plecked. So every part of that neck, the playing stuff of that neck, has been cut, created, as perfectly as it can be.
And you feel that it's got one of those instant intonation. All feels good wherever you play on the neck. All feels consistent. It's. I should just give people some tones.
Yeah.
So you've got.
So they're all the same, 9 to 12 across the range.
I've put all the specs on our website as well.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, what you've got here is the base spec of the guitar isn't changeable. If in other words, you can't go, can I have a different radius on the fretboard, or can I have a different shape or whatever. But fundamentally, what you can choose to really anything you want is the color, whether or not you want a dark fretboard, and you've got a choice of plum or laburnum, or whether you just want like a one-piece neck like this. And you can choose whether you want it right or left-handed.
No extra charge.
No extra charge. So colours-wise is kind of cool, because you can, I guess, I haven't really thought this through terribly well, but I guess you can send a photograph of a colour
every colour
Tom
you've ever seen on any guitar is available.
And you can choose, we've opted on these to go either with a very thin skin nitro kind of finish, or almost down to the point where it looks like some of those kind of Fender custom shop things where it's almost beginning to look like the finish is starting to wear.
That's matte.
Yeah.
That's actually a matte finish.
Yeah.
And that is matte as well. And the other one's a satin. So it's not going to have that dipped in water gloss.
But they could have that if they wanted. So it's, again, entirely up to you.
Up to you.
So anyway, these are all bare knuckle pickups. The 63
veneer boards,
single coils. So again, that really classic. Again, it's been in the news a lot. John Mayer says his sort of best tone was his sort of 63, 64 kind of Strat. So it's very clean. And then this is the
VH2. Yeah.
So. Middle and neck. Middle pickup. middle and bridge, and then in position 2 it's coil tapped on the
Yeah.
on the humbuckers. And then the humbucker, bit of drive. And the cool thing is, well, it's wired slightly differently to a regular conventional Strat. So the first tone control does these 2 pickups.
Yep.
The second tone control does this one.
Yep.
And then this push tone pot in the middle here will always engage the neck pickup. So I can have this, or I can have this, or whatever.
I'm a massive fan of position 2 and 4.
Yes.
And in position 2, you have half the humbucker in the middle one. If you stick the neck in as well, you get that another option of the twangy ones. So instead of just having 2 and 4, you've now got 3 options of that kind of the Knopfler, Hendrixy in between thing, which I really like.
Yeah, I mean it's a great guitar. I cannot tell you how nice this ash neck feels. It absolutely feels like a heavy relic Fender Strat where all the gloops come off.
Well, I finish all my necks in oil and wax, so no
like
lacquer,
gunstock oil and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's another famous guitar brand which I love, which I looked into how they did it, and I actually bought the same brand stuff. So it's all just, wax and oil.
So this is cool. Tell us about the
Okay, so the Admiral one. This one.
Admirable?
This one. Now this one has got a few different kind of moving away from maybe the classic T-type stuff. This I've got a humbucker-sized P90 in the neck, and that's the bare knuckle. It's the Nantucket one, and the Nantucket is like it's not their 50s super clean one. It's kind of the middle of the ground 60s kind of one. And this pickup here, it looks like a kind of double coil thing. It's actually just a single coil. It's the Cobra T. So it has a lot of clarity. So it's not like it's a dull sounding thing.
No, sure.
But the good thing about this one is if you do, if I turn this gunshot on, it's got some real kind of oomphy, some balls to it. Then middle position is hum cancelling.
Good.
Nice, they're reverse wound. And then the humbucker size P90, obviously with a regular kind of cleany kind of sound. But also, again, if you do add a bit of sauce to it, let's have that sidecar. So it's
It's got nice bright neck pickup.
Yeah.
Without, so it's not a dull neck pickup, is it?
Ben French, who is a bare knuckles kind of trade guy, you call him up, and Ben is, obviously so knowledgeable about their stuff and a lovely guy too. He kind of took me through. You could have this, you could have that, So we did spend a lot of time thinking of what would be good. Yeah. And I think if you're after a kind of T-type guitar that's got a bit more balls to it, this is a good option. It's really good for. I mean, when I play guitar or go places, or I just grab one of these.
Yeah,
it pretty much covers. You can definitely go to. You can really. All the jazzy stuff, and bluesy stuff. It's really I love it.
Yeah. So the last one then, the
That
grayling.
one, yeah, that's the one which is basically the one I made for Graham, which became this.
So this is a chambered.
Right, yeah, of course. So
remind me again, what's the timber
so
on
like a 335, that's walnut.
Oh, nice.
English walnut body, English walnut neck. That's got a Labona fingerboard as well, and it's chambered like a 335, so it's solid all the way through here, all the way to the back, and chambered around here. Nantucket P90s. It's a 25-inch scale length, so it's a little shorter. And I wanted to have that kind of Tele 335 cross-pollination thing.
Yeah.
So just bringing the scale length down a little bit, I think gives it a little bit more sponginess. And again, that really barks.
I love the fact you got wooden knobs on it.
Ebony knobs.
What have you put on the top here to give it that sort of sexy look?
Rippled ash.
Wow.
So it's, and I use dark grain filler.
Yeah.
So it gives it the kind of tiger stripe thing. That's just a kind of 3-tone.
And it's all British again on there.
Yeah.
I'm so, it was a total punt on my part to go.
Yeah.
But I'm so pleased we did this because it's just, I don't feel like in any way it's like what's the right word? There's been any downside to choosing the British timbers.
Yeah.
I sometimes think as well that, you know, we think about these guys like Leo Fender as the kind of the gurus, the original godfathers of guitar making and everything like that, and we think that they must have literally spent, you know, years choosing which timbers to make guitars from to ensure that they got the best sonic and balance and everything. And you know, a lot of that kind of, you know, ash and alder and, you know, maple was just actually, well, it was appropriate and available.
Yeah.
And cheap.
Yeah.
You know, or, you know, I say cheap, that's probably unfair,
Well,
but affordable.
Affordable, yeah.
You know, it wasn't a premium, difficult to find timber.
And and the thing with those early builders, just to be absolutely straight, I love Fender guitars more than any, you know.
Oh yeah, so do I.
Hence me, when I first started making guitars, I thought, right, I'm absolutely going to make a Telecaster first, you know. And I hope, out of the deepest respect I could muster, I am not comparing my guitars to Fender guitars. I don't think they're better than. I started making guitars. These happen to be the ones I made, and I over the time I have done a few things like, you know, the cutaways on the Admirals and the pickup choices and the compact. We spoke. I said, how important is it, you know, to get these modern things?
If you just want a Strat not made by Fender, there's like 50 people you can just go and have a Strat. And I think there is always in the back of my mind a bit of why have a Strat not made by Fender?
Yeah.
You know, I know it's personal choice and all that kind of stuff. So I think it was really important to sort of go, of course, you know, these are inspired by those amazing designs. Yeah. But with a Tom Gray British flavour to them, you know, which makes them different enough. Not wholesale different. No. You know, we haven't sort of tried to invent a new style of instrument. But different enough. And, you know, and you realistically, if we were to sell, I mean, Andertons is the only people selling these at the moment. That's not to say Andertons will be the only people ever selling these. But right now, if these were to sell at more than half a dozen a month, you couldn't keep up anyway. So this is not Fender, like, who make probably 500 guitars a day. Yeah. This is just a little thing.
It is just me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything you see here, apart from the stuff which Charlie Chandler's doing with the necks now, you know, it's all me. You know.
I mean, I'm loving the fact that, you know, if you guys actually get one of the original
Oh,
ones,
yeah.
you get the interesting serial numbers. You get like the 001s and the 002s.
Which Lee and I made up on the spot.
Well, literally, because Tom brought these down and delivered them, and our system, our computer system here, relies on us entering the serial number of a guitar, so that, you know, when you choose the one off the internet and you say, I want this specific one, you get this specific one. And Tom was like, well, what number should I do? And I went, well, I don't know, let's start with 1.
Yeah.
You know. So what the serial number is, that the first 2 digits is the year it's made, the second 2 digits is the model, so GR for Grayling, etc. And then
this is number 1, that's number 2.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, I think, you know, we'll jam out on well, what one you did? Which did you use for the first jam? The green one.
That one. I play this
so
one.
you play that one, and I'll play, say, this one, because I've not played that one. And we'll jam out. Now, I should say, please, that as I said, I've put all the specs on that I can on our website, so you can have a look. All the guitars are photographed, they're weighed. We're quite happy to sell the stock off display, and then we'll order some more, and we'll choose different colours. Of course, you can spec the colour that you want if you want to. Tom is still taking commissions, so if you sort of said what I kind of want is, I want Tom to build me a guitar, but I don't want it to be like any of these. I want it to be very different to these. By all means, contact Tom directly, and again, I'll put links to his website underneath. But obviously, bear in mind that a commission is going to be at least 50 to 100% more than one of these.
Certainly going to be more, yeah. And I guess it opens up, because this Imperial range, we call it the Imperial range, that's all the British wood stuff. So obviously I do actually make guitars out of anything you want, but these particular ones are in here on that place.
So there we are. Come to it, please. That's my. You know, who knows? This is definitely a bit of a punt on my behalf, but a punt that I think is the right thing to do on every level. I think it's right to support British manufacturing. It's great to see, you know, someone like Tom making a living out of his passion. It's good for the British economy, you know, and hopefully you guys out there that just love guitars, and you know, you'll come in and you'll go, oh, you know what, it's a little bit different to anything else in my collection, and these are, you know, great guitars. So look, there we are. Let's jam out. If you've got any questions about, you know, specifically on this, by all means, post them in the comments section below, and myself and Tom will do our best to answer them. Or just come to the store. Come to the store and play talk to a human. Hey everybody, thanks for watching the Andertons Guitar YouTube channel. If you're a drummer or a keyboard player or interested in music technology, you might find one of our other channels interesting, and I'll put details of those in the description below. If you want to find out more about the products we've just featured, please click here. If you'd like to buy a t-shirt like this, please click here. If you want to watch another video on our guitar channel, click down here. And to subscribe to our guitar channel, click here. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.